Well, CNN has very often gotten this wrong, but there is an important statement that was made the other day that I think many of you will probably agree kind of gets to the heart of why, Jen, you've said many times before that one of the things about the establishment, whether it was Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you go all the way up to, a mega corporation like CNN, Time Warner, et cetera, is that they're going to just bury themselves in the process because the only thing they know how to do is overreach. They are so shaken to the core based on what has happened already, pertaining to the fact that the reaction of the average person was, well, I guess it was inevitable that somebody was going to get it because we live in the only fully developed nation on earth that doesn't have a universal healthcare system. So here's what CNN had to say.
I think this is amped up and also, sort of political. This case is so unusual. The behavior of law enforcement is so unusual, and the district attorney's office and the mayor's office of the city of New York, that they are signaling this information about the strength of their case. It's not normal. It's not the way things are done. And to go into the grand jury and charge this as an act of terrorism, where the only way that we know that the insurance industry was allegedly targeted or that the victim, Brian Thompson, was allegedly targeted because of his role at an insurance company is because law enforcement told us that through the media. Luigi Mangione allegedly did not publish his alleged manifesto. That's what the law enforcement's calling it. So far, we don't know that there's some kind of hit list here where he was going to allegedly take out more people. This might have been a single act by someone who is mentally unstable, allegedly. Again, he's charged and innocent until a jury proves it. But they didn't need to go into the grand jury and charge this as a terroristic act. They could have charged this as a straight murder too, without a terrorist component.
Yeah. But we know they're going to overcharge. They have to overcharge. They have to overcharge. I don't see how, again, I really wish I could watch jury selection on this. If anybody on that, if this could make its way to anybody who's helping his defense attorney, I would love to participate in jury selection in this case, because I cannot fathom how you're going to find 12 people that are not biased against the health industry. I don't see how you can do that.
Well, this is also your forte. I mean, this is definitely your bag, so to speak. And guys,
I'd love to do jury selection. I would love to help her for jury selection. That would be like, oh my God. I'd pay her. I'd pay her to do it.
Guys, we have almost 500 people watching live on YouTube already, but only 222 of you have smashed that like button. So please, if you haven't done so already, let's get this out to as many people as possible, because I think there's a very important caveat here, Jen, that as an attorney, you can speak to much better than most. It does seem that the angle that a lot of people are going for as it pertains to how this case could ultimately result in, let's say, a hung jury, or dare I say, an acquittal, is jury nullification. It does seem that corporate media, especially CNN, is doing everything in their power to avoid talking about this particular issue. If you can inform the audience more about what jury nullification is all about and how that will play a direct impact on the result of this case, that would be very helpful.
Well, I mean, the idea of jury nullification is that there's not, and you can't find an impartial jury, that the jury already, all of your entire pool is tainted because people have a predisposed opinion. And they can avoid putting out all the information as to his manifesto or UnitedHealthcare or any of the specifics in this case. They're never going to be able to find an impartial jury. They just can't. And I don't care how far they go. You could change venue to, in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to matter. I don't understand how they think. That's why the terrorist thing, they had to add something because I think they'll be lucky to get anything, quite honestly. And I don't understand how. I'm concerned for his life, because I don't see how in any way this going to trial could in any way benefit the oligarchy. This going to trial, to me, just strikes me as a complete chaos disaster for the oligarchy, regardless of what happens. It'll be a circus that they don't want to deal with.
Well, it's already a circus as we stand at this moment. There is everything that I think corporate media has been accustomed to doing for a very long time in terms of how they normally want to address any type of issue that is really ratings driven. Oh, it's about Mangione's haircut, getting, going to arraignment. It's the fact that, he is somebody who is considered attractive, and you have a whole bunch of women that are standing outside and really want to support him, and blah, 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 blah.
If this gets to where there's a trial, then that kind of circus outside will be like nothing, because between then and the fact that so many people have already been donating to help support his legal fees, there is a public outcry for him, regardless of whether or not the elites find it, they find it very distasteful. I see how they're so shocked by it. But at the end of the day, I just don't see how they're going to be able to make this go away if it's a public spectacle.
And the other thing that I will notice, and I'm going to put this one particular comment here so you all can see it. He's a cold-blooded killer from Holly Loves R. But here's what's
she's talking about Brian Thompson.
If maybe she is, maybe she isn't. But let's just assume for a minute that she is talking about Luigi. That is the one comment out of hundreds already. The hundreds of comments are in favor of Luigi, which I think in many ways is reflective in where a lot of people are at this point.
The cold-blooded killer is the person who can sit behind the desk and profit knowing specifically that a lot of people have to suffer and die in order for those profits to be had. That's a cold-blooded killer. Well, somebody who defends others from said cold-blooded killer, I would suggest is a vigilante.
Yeah. And not only do I think that is what the real problem is here, but as we've pointed out on our show, Generational Change, regarding Bill Burr, is that he said it best. He said, you guys think that you can get away with murder because the way you do it in terms of the context of our current system is that it's clean. You're not actually getting your hands dirty. You're not the ones actually pulling the trigger. It's kind of like, how do you show up to an event? Do you show up in a suit and tie? Do you speak a certain way? Do you, I'm not going to specify this to anybody. I'm just going to say that I have been in the presence, whether family or friends, of certain trips that I've shared with Jen where I've gone to certain places where they expect you to be a certain way. Like you can't show up at the pool without, certain types of shoes on. You cannot show up to dinner without proper grooming. It's this whole idea of being in polite society. And the thing about polite society is that in many ways, you can be a criminal, but there has to be a certain way that you go about committing your crimes. If you do it clean, that's okay.
No, it just has to do with if it benefits capital.
Well, sure. Yes. But
that's the only thing that matters. Crimes that don't benefit capital are the crimes that get most penalized. Crimes that benefit capital are ones where people get golden parachutes. And this is our distorted perspective, and also what we tolerate as citizens and people in terms of violence by our government against us. But austerity is violence, and we live it every day. And people that are struggling to live, that are working and struggling to live, that's violence against them.